So now we pan back to the famous centre court. It's a great bowl which holds some 13 or 14,000 people. Absolutely packed this afternoon in the sun. And waiting now for the second of the semi-finals between John McEnroe, the top seed, and this 19-year-old Australian Pat Cash, unseeded, who's already disposed of 3 seeds, including Max Villander, the number 4 seed, very early in this championship. And he's also put out Gomez, the number 6 seed, and Curran, the number 11 seed. Now, what can he do against the great champion, McEnroe? Cash, like Lendl, was a former Wimbledon junior champion. He won both the junior title here and in the US Open in 1982. Cash last year was beaten by Lendl here in the last 16. Now he's through to the semi-finals. But what a daunting prospect, knowing he's got to come out and face McEnroe, a man he's never played before, on the most famous tennis court in the world. And so the 2 semi-finalists come on to the centre court. McEnroe, the champion, and the unseeded Cash. And our commentators for this match will be John Barrett and Gerald Williams.
Well, there he is. Just 19 years of age, 19 in fact during the French Championships. And I was talking just a few moments ago to his father, who must be, without any doubt, one of the proudest people around here today. And he says, Pat Cash Senior, that is, a former Australian rules footballer with the top Melbourne club Hawthorn. He says that at home in Melbourne, where it'll be the early hours of the morning, Pat Cash's match will be watched live on Australian television by his mum and his brother and his sister. And it's certainly an immense day for him. John McEnroe, of course, this is just another wonderful opportunity to play another outstanding match. This man, with what's been described, I think, very accurately as a passion, a rage for success, has been very much under control in terms of his turbulent emotions throughout these championships, very much to his credit. And I think to the credit of everybody at Wimbledon who've helped create an atmosphere in which this can happen. Just to say that it's still very warm out there, and all the linesmen and the umpire are all still in their green jackets. For them to take them off, they would have to have permission from the Championships Committee. They're not allowed to take off their green jackets on centre or number 1 court without the committee's decision. In fact, the only time that's ever happened was back in 1976 in the heat wave then. That's the only time they've been allowed to take their jackets off. And the temperature we hear is just about in the mid-80s.
In fact, about 86 degrees out there, and it's going to be very humid as well again. And I know both players are quite used to playing in these sort of conditions. John McEnroe plays all over the world and is not going to be fazed at all by excessive heat, and nor is young Cash, who plays in torrid heat back home in Australia.
John, one thing about Pat Cash, I'm told, is that he is certainly not intimidated at playing John McEnroe for the first time. Many players would be, particularly in these circumstances, the semi-final at Wimbledon. But he apparently has shown himself, or at least is giving the impression that he's completely in control, looking forward to it, and doesn't think in the least that he's beaten before he goes out there.
Absolutely right. He feels he has a good chance today if he plays well. And I suppose that is just possible. He might beat McEnroe if he is at his very best and McEnroe's a little bit off. But if you look at known form, you couldn't pick Cash to win this match. But nevertheless, you've got to go out against any opponent believing that you can win. And this man certainly believes. He has had an immense amount of tennis at Wimbledon, more than anybody else. He's played 18 sets of singles, 24 sets of doubles. He's played 440 games. 35% more tennis, in fact, than his opponent today, John McEnroe. But in a sense, that's good. He's young, he's strong, he's fit. And Neil Fraser is just a little bit worried. Neil Fraser, the Australian Davis Cup captain, who's looking after Cash here, a little afraid that it's the mental edge that might have been dulled. Not lost, but dulled.
In fact, Johnny played, what was it, 4 hours and 21 minutes yesterday, doubles, an unfinished doubles and then a 5-set double, so they breed him tough in Melbourne, don't they?
What a thriller it was, too. In fact, what thrillers they were, both of them. Oh, he's a tough man, all right, and I think all Australians are pretty rugged. They enjoy a good scrap. And I don't think he will be lacking in anything today, in resolve, in belief, in fitness.
His father, who's up there in the special box, he has, in the special players box, the box where the players' special guests go, to get that right, his father said that Patrick, as he calls his son, Patrick would have been, he believes, an outstandingly gifted Australian rules footballer. He reckons he inherited that talent and with that physique as well, but he gave the game up, Australian rules football that is, at 13 years of age. That must be one of the youngest retirements I've ever heard of. And there's his father in the back row there, far left, wearing the spectacles. And he is a man who's very forceful, much encouraging and supportive of his son, quite naturally, and also does quite a lot of business advising for him.
In the front row, Jerry, Peter Rennert, who'll be supporting John McEnroe. He often plays doubles with him, grew up together, and they're often practice partners as well. And not surprisingly, the competitor's guest box is full, and they're handing, it looked to me as if he was handing back a program that he just autographed. Paul McNamee, the partner of Pat Cash in the doubles final. And what a thrilling match they played together yesterday. Well, at 25, Jerry, John McEnroe must be about at the peak of his physical powers. He has his temperament well under control, as you've said. And I think we may look back upon that fracas at Queen's Club with some gratitude in the end.
I agree about that.
It may just have warned him that any similar sort of occurrence here would have been the end of his chances of adding another title at Wimbledon. And I know he desperately wants to prove himself here once again. He's won twice, of course, last year and 2 years before that in 1981, and thwarted in the middle by Jimmy Connors, incidentally. The man, if he wins today, he'll have to face again on Sunday.
Order, please. Time.
Jeremy Shales is in the chair.
Mr. Cash won the toss and elects to serve.
Jeremy Shales just trying to get the players going, but John McEnroe's tying up a shoelace. We often see him adjust his shoes. But I was just thinking about McEnroe, Jerry. He has had quite the most outstanding start to a year that anybody, any male that is, has had since open tennis began, with just one defeat, and that at the hands of Ivan Lendl, as everybody must know by now, in the French final. But he's won 8 tournaments altogether, if you include the Masters, which belongs to last season but is played in this year. And going into this match, he's won 53 out of his last 54 tennis matches, and that is quite outstanding.
Quiet, please. First set. Play. ...15 love. 30 love.
Jerry, in these early games, they're going to be feeling each other out rather like boxers around a ring because they've never met in competition before. Oh.
Love.
And that was a good deep second service by Pat Cash. His whole game is founded on the service. And he's got to serve very, very well in this match, and he's got to keep on serving well, and he hasn't got to be put off if McEnroe passes him, because McEnroe is going to pass him at some time.
Game to Cash.
Well, curiously enough, McEnroe thought the first one was a bad call and was prepared to give him the ace. This time he thought it was a fault.
First game.
Well, I wonder whether that is going to upset anybody today. That certainly did look like an ace to me. McEnroe is having a little word. Well, I think it is something to do with the noise that McEnroe can hear from, is it the magic eye, Jerry, I wonder, that he's asked Jeremy Shales to phone the referee's office about?
It could be. It could also be from the cameras at the back of the court, because you know, there just is not a space at the back of the court. There's a little scrum of photographers up there. He's been put off in the past. Remember in the French Championships, John, he was on the point. There they are.
Time.
In the French Championships, John McEnroe actually, for a while, looked as if he'd persuaded the committee there at Roland Garros to have many of the cameramen
McEnroe to serve.
sent off the court. But after days argy-bargy about that, they were reinstated and asked not to take shots when he was actually serving, or when either player was actually serving.
15 love. Love. Love.
It's obviously going to be a match of a very different character indeed from the previous one, where there were some quite long rallies from the back of the court. These are going to be very, very sharp, short rallies.
And already Pat Cash's ground strokes are beautifully timed. He has to make a lot of ground here too. And for once McEnroe hesitated. He didn't commit himself one way or the other. Passed clean as a whistle. 40-15.
Game to McEnroe. One game all. First set.
Among the people who are very supportive of this man is Lou Hode. He was telling me just last night, he said he's a good player. He's got quite a lot of finesse as well as his brawn.
15 love.
Only his second service game and 2 aces already.
Love. First service. Love. First service. Game to cash. Cash leads by 2 games to 1. First set.
And what a marvellous start. No points lost yet on his own serve. And he looked to me as if he was timing the returns of the McEnroe serve fairly well, though that's on slender evidence, and I'm sure McEnroe will start to serve better than that shortly. But Cash here is the first unseeded Australian in the semi-final at Wimbledon since Rod Frawley in 1981. Then, of course, the following year, Mark Edmondson got there, but he was seeded. And there hasn't been an Australian in the final at Wimbledon since Ken Rosewall in 1974, a whole decade ago. And I think it would be fair to say that the whole of Australia is pinning their hopes on this man to lead them to a new era of prominence. And thinking about today's match, Australia against America,
Time.
Takes one back to those marvellous confrontations of the 50s between the Trabets and the Seychesses of America against the young Hodes and Rosewalls, as they were then, young. And further back still to Schroeder and Kramer against Sedgman and McGregor. What names to conjure with. And it would be great if young Cash could lead Australia to a revival. John McEnroe waiting there while the people settle in their courtside seats. He's ready now. It's 1-2.
First service. Love 15.
Jerry, one of the things that's going to help Cash today in returning serve, he spent this morning practicing against young Mark Kratzmann of Australia, another left-hander.
All.
think if it comes to finesse around the net, McEnroe is going to have a good deal of better touch. Lovely feel.
Good.
30 all.
McEnroe looked surprised by that, no question about that. But once again, he's saying absolutely nothing. He's certainly got himself very much in check during this Wimbledon.
Well, I wonder if McEnroe's hard look at the linesman there was justified.
Forty, 30. Game to McEnroe. 2 games all, first set.
At the start then, the better server, or at least the most successful server, has certainly been Pat Cash. He's had 2 service games and he hasn't dropped a point on either of them. McEnroe lost 1 point in his first service game and 2 in that second one, which included that double fault.
Love, 15.
It's so easy when you're at the net on what looks a simple volley to the outsider to have won the point in your mind before you make the shot. Hence the fluff.
Love, 30. Fifteen, 30.
I think the second volley, the backhand volley, was the sharper one, the more secure one. Feeling that the forehand volley was hit without complete assurance.
Thirty all. Thirty, 40.
So here's the first break point of the match. 15 minutes gone, and McEnroe has this point to get the break.
Deuce.
He was all ready to change ends. Thought it was in. Well, I wonder if it's possible for us to judge us for ourselves whether McEnroe's surprise again was justified. That's twice in this game now. Well, I think it was definitely out. Good call, deuce.
Advantage cash. Game to cash. Cash leads by 3 games to 2, first set.
And lips tightly buttoned today, as they have been the entire championship. And in my opinion, he's playing all the better for it. He's entitled, of course, to ask if he believes a mistake has been made. Any player can do that. But if he's told, well, no, it wasn't a mistake, then he must accept it. And Cash is serving very cleverly indeed. There was one point he served from the left court out to McEnroe's forehand with a kick on it, and he was so surprised, McEnroe, that he just made a simple error. And I think the ace down the middle that closed that game, that was ace number 3 for Cash today, shows that he is prepared to vary the placing, which is going to be basically important to him if he's ever going to beat McEnroe today. He's got to keep him guessing, keep him honest on his returning of serve, because once McEnroe gets into a groove, as he showed us against Sadri, he is so formidable. So that elusive break point passed by.
Card, please.
And we have no breaks as McEnroe waits again for the crowd to settle at 2-3.
Love 15. $15 all. $30-15. $40-15. Game to McEnroe. Three games all, first set. $15 love.
I think there's no doubt McEnroe is going to find Cash a very difficult person to pass indeed, because he's a big brawny fellow, as you can see, and he's also very acrobatic. Very good athlete.
$15 all.
Start.
30-15.
Yes, that second serve was a bit short, I'm afraid.
30 all. Not up. .40-30.
Well, the applause, I think, for McEnroe even having the courage to make a sprint for that, but then he never gives any ball up, does he? But round the net, Pat Cash is playing, I think, with tremendous assurance. No even hint that he's rushing things. Looks perfectly in control.
Deuce. Advantage McEnroe.
A little bit lucky there. But another break point for him. He had one on Cash's previous service game. This for 4-3 to McEnroe, if he can get this one.
Game to McEnroe. Ball change, please. McEnroe leads by 4-3, first set.
It seems to me that John McEnroe has been testing himself against Pat Cash so far in this match. He's trying to decide, never having played him before, where the serves are going. He's now beginning to read them. To start with, he wasn't. And now he's beginning to see the direction of the serves. Therefore, the returns have a little more potency. And Pat Cash is wondering now just how he's going to serve at his opponent. Here, in this point from the last game, we see what a beautiful service action it is, all that beef going into it, good wrist action, and the weight moving forward so that he's well poised, meeting the ball beautifully out in front of him on the volley. Again, poised on his centre line astride the net, but beaten for pace by another of those rasping early hit McEnroe passes. And I think this contest is going to be a fascinating one, because McEnroe doesn't often on grass play somebody who is bred on that surface and who moves instinctively to the right places and plays the right shots for grass, which Cash does.
Quiet, please.
Well, now, the world champion has secured the first break of serve. He has the new balls. He now wants to underline the point that he's in control.
15 love. 30, love. Love.
Oh, yes.
Game to McEnroe. McEnroe leads by 5 games to 3. First set.
Which means that Pat Cash, who'd begun the match so well with those two love games on his opening serve, is suddenly finding himself having to serve at his best to save this first set. Just in a few moments, it seems to have gone completely to McEnroe.
Love 15.
Well, he is certainly now beginning to read these Cash serves. Even when they're well sliced out wide, he's moved already before the ball has bounced, probably picking it up from the action of the server. It's love 15.
Love 30. $15, 30. $30 all. $30, 40.
That's set point. Cash's first double fault, and it gives McEnroe a fingertip on this set.
Game and first set to McEnroe. McEnroe wins the first set, 6 games to 3.
Well, it must be very disheartening for Cash, who started so well, didn't he? But it was only while John McEnroe was beginning to assess him, make up his mind how he had to play him. And John McEnroe really is playing now again, just as he's done all the championship, with sweet timing. Let's look at his own serve from his last service game, the 8th game of that first set. Again, the disguise there in the closed stance, making it very difficult for opponents to read. Beautiful wrist on the volley there, all feel and touch. And he just caresses the ball sweetly on the strings for his easy winner, because he'd made the opening. with the previous one. I suppose in world terms there's nobody as quick around the net as John McEnroe.
Second set, McEnroe to serve.
And there cannot have been very many players ever any faster. Here's the second set.
Love 15. Out. 15 all. $30-15.
Yes, I think there's no doubt that Pat Cash is going through a bad time mentally now. He's a bit shot through, I think, after McEnroe made a sudden breakthrough towards the end of the first set, and he's really got to pull himself together now.
$40-15. Game for McEnroe. First game, second set. First set to McEnroe.
And ominously for Cash, the McEnroe serve is now looking very grooved. It was something he came to Wimbledon a little worried about, having not served as well as he would have liked in Paris. Now this service action of John McEnroe is so well disguised. That slice wasn't red at all. He lunged after it. And it has been the barometer by which you judge the form of John McEnroe, the quality of his serving. When he's serving well, he's playing well, and that applies nearly always to any player. But now let's look at the next point to see the disguise of this toss. From that action, he can go either there down the line, which Cash moved to a little bit late, and didn't have time to get his feet set to make a proper attempt at a pass from the beautiful volley of John. Or he can go with the same action out wide to the forehand. And we saw John Sardry the other day absolutely flat-footed, stranded. He didn't begin to move towards the ball. Well, this is where Cash has got to start building himself confidence and get into the match, get dug in. Love one.
$15 love.
Joe, we've had a lot of controversy about that official there who wears the headphones.
$30 love.
Instinctively, Cash moves to the right place when he's going in behind his serve. You'll see him to the right of the centre line here, ready to pounce. Strong legs, 30 love.
$40 love. 40-15. Game to Cash. One game all, second set.
Well, that was a better game by Cash. At least he got the feel of his serve starting to go well again. He's got the family, as I say, supporting him. His dad up there. He's got a mum. There's his dad on the left. He's got a mum and a brother and a sister at home. They live in the suburbs of Melbourne.
Love. Love. $30-15. $40-15. Game to McEnroe. McEnroe leads by 2-1 in the second set, and by 1 set to Love.
For those of you who may have just come home and don't know the earlier result, the first of the men's semi-finals was won by Jimmy Connors. He beat Ivan Lendl in 4 sets. During the course of that match, he received a caution for unsportsmanlike conduct, and Connors referred to this in a joking way when he came for his press conference.
And it gave me a chance to hit 1 or 2 ground strokes and then sneak in.
Can you explain the nose scratching incident?
Yeah, wasn't that unbelievable? Cost me another $500 probably.
Was you a fly on your nose?
Yeah, something.
Can you take us through it from the start?
Well, let's see, I lifted my arm up to my nose. Fingers touched nose, and I went like that.
What are your feelings?
The reason he got the caution was that the umpire took it as an offensive gesture, which meant that he thought a decision stank. And Jimmy said, no, I'm just rubbing my nose.
Pat Cash already ready to serve. McEnroe taking just a little bit longer. And the score is 1-2. Cash to serve.
Love 15.
The difficulty you see of going in against McEnroe is he can hit his backhand passing shot and his forehand come to that matter either way. Cash picked the wrong way.
$15 all. 15-30.
Well, he paid the penalty of pushing the first volley. He didn't try and punch it, he steered it. That is fatal against someone like McEnroe.
All. (30-40).
And that's a break point against Cash, and at the moment I think Cash has really got himself mentally in a bit of a web, a bit of a maze there.
Deuce. Advantage Cash.
And you sense that the crowd here willing Cash to just get himself together again and really go storming back at McEnroe, not because they are particularly taking sides. I think they just want to see a good close match.
Game to Cash. 2-all, second set.
It really is very hot out there, but it occurs to me that John McEnroe is very used to much more humid weather than this in New York at Flushing Meadow.
15-love. Love. (30-15).
It's third double fault.
(40-15).
That's absolutely typical of the imagination and the feel of John McEnroe. He just made that ball stop dead. I'm sure if he wanted to, he could make a stop volley come back over the net as well.
Game for McEnroe. McEnroe leads by 3 games to 2 in the second set and by 1 set to love.
After just 47 minutes. 3-2, and Cash still not yet really sure how to tackle his man.
Some more news from that Jimmy Connors press conference. It was seen throughout the conference that he was rubbing his left shoulder, and after the conference was over, he indeed went for treatment on it. And since then, we've heard that he's not able to join us for an interview with television. So it does seem as though Connors may be suffering from a little bit of trouble to the left shoulder.
In fact, Cash, who after his exertions last night wanted to rush off home, but on the sage advice of Fred Stolley, who saw him afterwards, he did lie in a hot bath for half an hour to get the effects of that long doubles match out of his system. And he's moved very sharply today. He doesn't appear to have kept any of the stiffness in his limbs, which you might have expected, had he not prepared properly. All part of being a thorough professional. No breaks. 2-3.
McEnroe's speed and inventiveness is really quite staggering sometimes.
Well, the speed of court coverage here you have to admire, because he has to move to play that backhand. Doesn't know quite where the other's going. He's still in his backhand corner, but he rips across. Moves so quickly.
15 all. .30, 15.
I don't think there's any doubt at all. If Pat Cash is going to get his way, hack his way back into this match, he's got to start serving and volleying just like that. It's the only way he can do it.
.30. Game to Cash. Three games all, second set.
Certainly a much better game by Pat Cash. He's got a Davis Cup tie for Australia. After this, they play Italy in the quarterfinals. But I'm sure he hasn't got that or anything else on his mind at the moment.
.15 love. 30, love. Love.
And Cash jammed against himself there by the depth of that first volley of McEnroe.
Yes, he made it.
And it's Cash's turn to show us his pace about the court here. It was a good return of serve that had a defensive half volley, a quick scurry to his left, and for once, McEnroe caught napping. 40-15.
Game to McEnroe. Ball change, please. McEnroe leads by 4-3 in the second set and by 1 set to love.
So Pat Cash, despite that superb cross-court forehand pass, wasn't really able to generate enough offensive quality about his returns of John McEnroe's serve. And indeed, that Davis Cup match that Jerry Williams referred to, which will be played in Brisbane, by the way, very much in the mind of Neil Fraser, who's sitting just there. Unfortunately, a gentleman in the royal box has decided to stand and conceal Neil Fraser, but there we are. Neil Fraser sitting there watching his charge, and has awful travel problems because the match takes place at the end of next week.
Time.
And it takes a couple of days to get to Australia, and he'd dearly like him to get to the final here. His loyalty's torn between the desire to see him prepare properly for the match against Italy and the desire to see him win the championship here. I think that everybody in Australia wanting to see him do well today. New balls, Cash, 3-4 second set.
Love 15. All.
That was good.
15-30.
Well, what can you say? The audacity of it, the conception of it, the timing. Breathtaking.
All.
And you know, John McEnroe was standing outside the sideline when that bounced, and from where he stood, the ball would bounce between him and the line, and he would have thought that it caught the edge, but it missed.
(30-40).
Jerry, that says something about the perfectionist in him.
Yes, I think, and also his intensity, the enormous pressure cooker that the man is.
Advantage McEnroe. Deuce. Advantage cash.
Quite extraordinary, really, the way John McEnroe, just for a moment, reacted to that, hung his head. It was the most difficult shot he could possibly have tried to play, and yet because he didn't quite make it by about a fraction of an inch, his shoulders fell and he grimaced.
First service.
That's good. The linesman realizing he's made a mistake. Nobody minds that. The players won't complain. We're all human. There's the gentleman who realized he'd made an error.
Game to cash. 4 games all. Second set.
We think of John McEnroe being a fairly turbulent character, but Pat Cash, or Patrick as his father would much prefer he was called, because that's what they call him at home, Patrick Cash has his fiery moments. He's been quite a handful to handle. Even Neil Fraser, I think, has found that so.
15 love. $30 love. $30-15.
Well, it was the return of serve here that did the damage, because McEnroe couldn't make an attacking reply, and Cash has plenty of time to decide where to direct his pass. But if the return had been any higher, he wouldn't have had that luxury. 30-all.
Good night.
Well, it's dangerous to serve to the forehand of a
30,
player,
40.
particularly with a player with as big a forehand as Cash. I think he meant to hit it into the body, but there wasn't quite enough swing on it. Well, now, here's an interesting thing. A break point against McEnroe, the first.
It's long.
Use.
Cash isn't likely to get many chances in this match. He's just got to take one.
Advantage McEnroe.
Quite right, Jerry, because on grass everything happens so fast. You can't build up situations. They just happen in a fleeting second, and you've got to grab it.
Game to McEnroe. McEnroe leads by 5 games to 4 in the second set, and by 1 set to love.
And, well, as John McEnroe is playing generally, he would have been concerned about that break point he suffered, the first in the match. But how well he reacted to it, getting a good first serve in. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's playing so well within the percentages, despite playing for the lines. It's quite remarkable this year. And in my opinion, he's lifted the whole level of the men's game this season, John McEnroe. And one wonders just what else he can add to his repertoire. And Cash must be thinking back to that one fleeting moment when he had the chance to break the serve. For him, it's a matter of continuing the belief that he can hang in on his own serves and perhaps snatch a piece of luck in the tiebreak. Because I think that really is the place where he is most likely to succeed, and he has a very fine record on tiebreaks at this year's championship.
Take your seats quickly, please. Take your seats quickly, please. Quiet, please.
Well, the crowd get only one chance to move into their seats, to and from their seats for refreshment, and that's at the change of ends, that they take a little while to settle.
Quiet,
sometimes.
please.
Jeremy Shales just trying to get them composed. It's 4-5.
$15 love. $30 love.
That's wide.
40 love. $40-15.
Cash didn't react at all, did he? Didn't even momentarily stop or turn around and look. I think he knew, as he hit that volley, or at least as it pitched, he knew it was just wide.
Game to Cash. Five games all, second set.
There's no doubt that Pat Cash is going to do it on grass. That's where he's going to have his great triumphs if they come, as they threaten to indeed, because his game is simply made for the fast reflex shots of grass court tennis.
Fifteen love. Thirty love. Thirty 15. Forty 15. Forty 30. Game to McEnroe. McEnroe leads by 6 games to 5 in the second set, and by 1 set to love.
Having said that, Pat Cash has got a game that's absolutely made for and born on grass courts, in Australia, of course, there. I would have to say, John, that with great respect to him and his brawn and his energy and his fight and his courage, all that, I don't really see his game developing on the clay courts of Europe, and he hasn't been doing well coming to Wimbledon on the continent, has he?
He hasn't so far, but then it's something that a good player will learn, and if he turns into a great grass court player, he'll then become more accustomed to the rigours of clay court play, which so many of his predecessors from Australia did master in the end, even the sort of big serving ones. Lou Hode won there in 1956. He beat Sven Davidson, and Rod Laver, of course, who was an attacking player, won in 1962 against Roy Emerson, and Roy himself won the following year, so they do know how to play. Fred Stolle in 1965, Tony Roach in 66. The Australians can learn to play on European clay, but they have to spend time at it. And I'm sure if Cash is only 19 after all, if Cash comes over to Europe, as he's been doing now for a couple of years, and spends time on clay, he'll become a good clay court player. 5-6. This for the tie break.
15 love. Thirty love. 40 love.
Well, there is a bit of imagination there. There are the odd attempts at guile and deception at the net.
(40-15). (40-30). Game to Cash. 6 games all, second set. Tie break. McEnroe to serve.
And this tiebreak absolutely vital, I would have thought, to Pat Cash more so than McEnroe. I think Cash has, if he gets 2 sets to love down, then it's going to be a mountain I cannot believe he could climb.
(1-0) Cash.
And enthusiastically applauding that up on the Royal Box, the president of the Lawn Tennis Association of Australia, Brian Tobin, he's up there. One of the men very much behind the new flowering of Australian tennis, because there are many signs that it is beginning to happen, and this man, Cash, is leading the way on court.
And you'll have to congratulate Cash here on playing a very awkward volley, which got too close to his body, really, with great control. Could hardly have been better, could it? 2 love. No, they think in the stands that that was an ace, but it wasn't.
(2-1) Cash.
Well, that was another of those fleeting chances, that glimpse of the second set with the break of serve, which has now been taken from him. Well, it won't perhaps do it justice, but what a wonderful rally this was. It was again the return of serve that set up the chance, and the ball straight at the man at the net, often the best place, and quick as McEnroe is, Cash is quicker. 1-3. And would you say you're looking at a man whose confidence is growing, taking advantage of another short serve?
4-1 Cash.
And temporarily, at least.
Settle down, please. Quiet, please.
And this tiebreak isn't over yet. But temporarily, at least, Cash is in command. 4-1.
4-2, Cash.
Jerry, I think Cash in his excitement had forgotten to change ends after the first 6 points played. He's really boiling away inside there. Well, he's still ahead. 4-2.
Quad, please.
And would win the set if he could just hold all his service points, but as you saw in the last one, it's not going to be easy.
First service. For 3, Cash.
Had to snatch at that rather desperate backhand volley, but again you see the serve was too short. So back on level terms as regards break. We've seen 3 points taken against the serve by each of them.
For all.
Well, 4-1 up Cash was, and he had a break point when there were 4-all in games, so he certainly had his chances.
Well, he took the risk. He's done it before and it's cost him dear. But my goodness, what a moment to risk it again.
5-4, Cash.
To give yet another break of serve. Can you believe that McEnroe has lost 4 service points in this tiebreak? Cash has only lost 3, therefore is within sight of the set if he can just hold these 2 service points. 5-4.
All.
So here's the biggest point of the match so far for this gentleman. After all the chances that have gone a-begging, he must keep his nose in front now. Well, there's the genius of the man. He finds the telling return off a very difficult high-kicking serve and takes lots of time. Where will he go, thinks Cash? Across or down the line? I don't know. It's down the line and too late. And that, of course, brings set point.
Game and second set.
51
McEnroe
minutes.
wins the second set, 7 games to 6.
That was
McEnroe
the
leads by 2 sets to love.
duration of the set, and John McEnroe towels himself down. Occurs to me to say that I saw a letter in one of the papers today asking whether these green Wimbledon towels couldn't be raffled for charitable causes, which isn't a bad idea, but I'm told, John, that the green Wimbledon towels tend to be forgetfully taken home by some of the players, and there aren't that many around.
I think that's right. There are one or two souvenir hunters among the players. John McEnroe wanting to freshen up after that delightful end to the tiebreak. My goodness, we saw there all the value of experience. The young Cash, with those chances that he'd created and the 4-1 lead, taking 2 successive service points from McEnroe to lead 4-1, and then promptly having his own 2 taken. Well, let's look again at that marvellous point in that tiebreak on the Cash serve, because that forehand return can only be half volleyed. Now, McEnroe has so much time there, and he's been going across nearly every time, and Cash was half waiting for the cross-court. And at the last minute, realising it was going down the line, dives vainly. I think we saw the world champion at his best there, because he must have been surprised at the intensity and the ferocity of Cash's attack. And yet he answered
Take your seats, please.
Cash now thinking it really should be set all, but it isn't. He's 2 sets down. Here's the third.
Love, 15.
Out.
15 all.
Red.
First service.
Out.
30, 15.
Incredible return.
30 all. Forty, 30. Deuce.
And, you know, just niggling away at the back of his mind is the concluding stage of that second set. It's jolly difficult to eradicate that from your mind, to blot it out, when you know you really should have won it.
Advantage McEnroe. First service. Deuce. Advantage cash.
I think what he's finding difficult on the cash serve is the way the second serve is kicking up rather higher than many opponents he's played. Cash is kicking them rather than slicing them. And when they're deep, it's difficult.
Deuce. Advantage cash. Game to cash. First game, third set. McEnroe leads by 2 sets to love.
Just a reminder that the first of the men's semi-finals got underway at 2 o'clock on the centre court this afternoon, and an intriguing battle which Connors won in 4 sets. It all swung on the third set when Connors was 1-3 down to Lendl and then broke back, and after that Lendl...
Well, John McEnroe had the chance there, that one fleeting chance for him this time, that went a-begging because of the attempted forehand pass went in the net. But I think he'll be quite satisfied really about the way he's playing.
Time.
And he is taking advantage of any
Take your
short
seat,
serves to make telling returns. And Cash's effort, therefore, must be to keep depth on that second serve as he's kicking them up. And, of course, to get as many first serves in, that goes without saying. And he hasn't really got enough in for comfort today, Cash. And the shadow beginning to creep across the court as the sun blesses us with its warmth once again. McEnroe, 2 sets to love up and love 1.
Love 15. Love 30.
Well, now, again, taking the risk of serving to the forehand. And he pays the penalty. Cash read it this time. Well, now, love 30 on McEnroe's serve. And from memory, I don't think that's been the case at all before in this match.
15-30. 15-40.
He's got 2 break points, and he's got, say it again, he's got to take one of these chances. You can't keep on having chances and lose them. He had 2 break points of 4-all. He had a lead, that was in the second set, and he had a lead in the tiebreak of 4 points to 1. And McEnroe was too good for him on all those occasions.
$30-40.
Almost too anxious, I think, to make a good shot. But it's a difficult thing. If you go for them and you're bold and they go in, you're a great hero. If you just try and play safe, difficult judgment to make.
I'm quite sure he's got to go for them. I mean, he's not going to get far by just blocking it back.
Deuce.
So what's going to happen? He just chose to block that backhand back and gave McEnroe the net position free of charge.
Advantage cash.
McEnroe's 4th double fault, and the 3rd break point, 3rd chance had the Cash has had in this game to make a break for 2-love.
Game to Cash. Cash leads by 2 games to love, 3rd set.
And he's got it at last. The first break of serve he's had in this match, and suddenly, at least there's a glimmer of hope for him. He needs to cash in now by serving at his very best.
Love 15.
And I think McEnroe may make him pay for the temerity of breaking the world champion serve.
Love 30. Love, 40.
Cash was stranded quite simply because he really didn't know what McEnroe was going to do. McEnroe looked as if he was first of all going to hit backhand cross court and then just lifted up that lob.
Game to McEnroe. Ball change, please. Cash leads by 2-1 in the third set. McEnroe leads by 2 sets to love.
Well, that advantage was short-lived, wasn't it? And I rather felt that he might sting John McEnroe to action, because really McEnroe played the perfect game there. The forehand pass was on the first point, and the second point looked like this. It's love 15. The serve's not too bad, quite deep, but he's had to move out of position with the volley. Now he's always on the defensive, but McEnroe, seeing that he would have had time to stride the net, moves in and volleys Cash's volley. And that's what he does so well. Moves forward all the time, denies you time, denies you position. He thinks so much quicker than most players and moves there too. And sitting watching, Peter Fleming there in the dark glasses, who's just been enjoying an iced lolly. Incidentally, of course, these two on court today will be doubles opponents in tomorrow's final. Fleming and McEnroe playing Cash and McNamee.
5, please.
Well, now, will the champion surge to victory after that brilliant game? He's won 2.
$15 love. $15 all. $30-15. $40-15.
Poor fellow got cuffed around the back of the ear, I think, by that ball. I think they sit there and they take all this, and all he gets £15 a day in meals.
Plus a few bruises.
$40-30.
Oh, that was a wonderful return.
Well, I don't think he was expecting a return quite as sharply angled as that, because it was not a bad slice serve. And I'll have to ask Pat Cash afterwards if he really meant to place it there.
This is an excellent match, let me tell you.
Advantage McEnroe.
Well, Cash is very quick to move forward to this little stop volley because McEnroe has been doing quite a few of them today, and he's beginning to realise he must watch for them and how well he controls that cross-court pass. So he's learning a lot from this match, Pat Cash. Deuce.
Advantage McEnroe. Game to McEnroe. 2 games all, third set. Hold it.
McEnroe might just slightly, do you think Johnny hurt his toe or something then? He looked a bit ginger about it.
Yes, he was just feeling the toe of his right shoe there.
Love.
Probably just stubbed his toe against the end of his shoe. That happens quite frequently. And if it happens again in the next match, it can be quite painful.
Well,
No,
that surprised Cash and that surprised me. In fact, the sideline judge made no signal. Whatever, so...
Confirmed his fall.
Oh.
30 love.
Well, the sideline judge said that he did make a call. I certainly didn't see his hand held out, which is what they're encouraged to do.
Jeremy Shales got it right in the end.
Quiet, please. .30-15. .40-15. Going to Cash. Cash leads by 3 games to 2, third set. McEnroe leads by 2 sets to love.
Well, John, I think John McEnroe's been very much in control of his mind, as he has through the whole championship.
Certainly has, although it seems to me that he's playing a little bit within himself today. Perhaps an indication is that he's only served a couple of aces today, and you'd normally have expected him to serve more than that. I don't think that is because Cash is returning the serve particularly well, but because he's missed a great number of first serves that, on the evidence of the matches against Sadri and Scanlon in his last 2 rounds, not serving as well as that.
Take your seats quickly, please.
And it seems to me perhaps to have expected this match to be a little bit easier than it has proved to be, and is a little irritated that he can't do quite what he wants to do all the time. And that's because young Cash has played really pretty darn well, and had he taken all the chances he'd created, then it would be at least set all, and McEnroe would have a lot more to think about than he has at 2-3 down in the third, with no breaks of serve, or rather 1 each, so that we're back on level terms.
Fifteen love. Thirty love.
That was hit with lovely topspin.
Shades of that great Spaniard Manolo Santana, who used to make this shot his own. The topspin lob whipped up with wrist, and quite devastating but dangerous too. Used to be used only sparingly. 30-15.
All. Forty, 30. Game to McEnroe. Three games all. Third set.
I was mentioning just a few minutes earlier about the fiery temperament that this fellow's got, but his father makes the point that he's only a young man and that really there's been so much pressure on him since he helped Australia win the Davis Cup.
Love 15.
He's become a great Australian sporting hero, along with the crew of the Australia 2.
15 all. .30.
In fact, Jerry, John Bertrand, the skipper of the America's Cup winners for Australia, was used by Neil Fraser to advise the team.
.40.
On how to meet a challenge. Well, there's a challenge out here today for Cash. Here are 2 break points.
Please.
Ah, yes.
Game to McEnroe. McEnroe leads by 4 games to 3 in the 3rd set, and by 2 sets to love.
Because the hallmark of any great champion is that he can produce it on the big points, and John, that's exactly what McEnroe does, isn't it?
Yes, it is extraordinary how he has this facility. Well, I suppose not really, because that's why he's such a great player. The volley there, again, moving forward. We saw a point earlier in this match when he did just the same thing. And John McEnroe can sense the moment in a match when to strike. He can time his effort. I suppose like any great sprinter, knowing when to make the break, or rather runner, not sprinter, but knowing exactly when to make the effort. And he does it so beautifully.
Time.
And knows exactly what's going on. The whole thing is one of total command.
Quiet, please.
Well then, young Cash here at one stage led 2-love in this set, but it was a very short-lived advantage, wasn't it? With a break now, McEnroe, 4-3.
.15 love. .30 love. Quiet, please. .40 love.
Just 2 minutes short of 2 hours this semi-final's been going, and one gets the feeling that John McEnroe is very nearly there.
Game to McEnroe. McEnroe leads by 5 games to 3, 3rd set.
Pat Cash unseeded, as were in recent years in the semi-finals Dupre and Ocker and Gottfried, Rod Frawley, Tim Mayhart, and of course Chris Lewis last year. Now serves to save the match.
.15 love. .30 love. 40 love. (40-15). (40-30).
Yes, it was dust. Pat, I'm afraid it was clearly long, the line here just outside our commentary position. And a good call.
Game to cash. McEnroe leads by 5-4 in the third set and by 2 sets to love.
Well, you have to hand it to Cash. He's stood there right in the firing line, going in against a backhand that is really so much like Rod Laver's, the way John McEnroe hits those, one, then another, topspin one way, then the other way, but Cash stood his ground. And there's been only good, strong, raw effort, I have to say raw effort from Pat Cash all the way through this match. His dad is shaking his head a little bit wearily, but I don't think he has any reason to be anything but proud of his son. Just 19, he's had his chances as well. He had break points at 4-all in the first set. He was 4-1 up in points in the tiebreak in the second set, and he had a break to lead 2-love in the third set. You would simply have to take some of those chances when you're playing somebody of the genius of John McEnroe. John Barrett, the word, you don't see him coming back, do you, after this?
Well, Joe, funnier things have happened on a tennis court than a recovery from this position, but quite honestly, in the context of what we've witnessed thus far, I really can't.
Quiet, please.
I really can't see a recovery coming. I think John McEnroe knows more about this business than most people, and will probably now close out this semi-final.
(15 love). First service. (15-all).
And it seems as if Pat Cash is determined to prove me wrong, and I'd be delighted if he did. And he nearly did it again. He did it nearly by returning the serve so beautifully. It was a blocked one, And John had to stop suddenly and do the half volley, but guessed right on this one in time to drag Cash forward with that stop volley and then move quickly enough to drop the ball dead. 30-15. Miles over. The fault was a fault by about a foot and a half.
30 all.
John didn't even attempt to play it. He's right. It was a long serve by about a foot and a half. And I think the service linesman with his magic eyes certainly wouldn't have heard this. And what a pity. A test of his character, 30 all.
Yes, he's beaten him. Oh, it was out.
(40-30).
And what a brave attempt by young Cash here. He gave it all he knew, driven back behind the baseline, but unluckily for him, just out. Match point.
McEnroe went for a stop volley. It's called out.
McEnroe.
Just for a moment. Just for a moment, practically everyone almost daren't breathe, wondering whether that ball was going to be called in and out, in or out. But the baseline judge at the far end there hung out his hand very firmly.
Please.
And so here's the second match point.
Game 7. McEnroe wins 3 sets to love, 6-3, 7-6, 6-4.
So the holder of the Wimbledon Singles Championship, the #1 player on the ATP World Ranking list, the holder of the official World Championship, John McEnroe, is through to another final.
And in fact, John McEnroe goes through to his 5th successive men's singles final here. Twice the winner already, and now on Sunday he will face his old rival Jimmy Connors. So now we have a repeat of the 1982 final when Connors beat McEnroe 3-6, 6-3, 6-7, 7-6, 6-4 in a match which took 4 hours and 14 minutes, the longest men's final ever played at Wimbledon. That's what we look forward to now, a repeat of that final on Sunday. Well now, as you know, Martina Navratilova has an ambition at this Wimbledon to do the clean sweep. In other words, 3 titles, the singles, the doubles, and the mixed doubles. Now, she's already in the final of the singles. She's already in the final of the doubles. Now, today she was playing a quarter-final of the mixed with her partner and coach, Mike Estep, against Sherwood Stewart and Elizabeth Sayers, the number 7 seeds. Estap and Navratilova, the number 4 seeds. Well, Stewart and Sayers took the first set